Hi everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and I've got some comic book reviews for you. Yes, it's Friday again. I got 6 books this week. You'll know what they are because of course you watch my Wednesday's comic book day video. And you know, you have those weeks where your books aren't really all that. You're kind of disappointed in them. Well, I didn't have one of those weeks this week. And you know those weeks where you think, they were pretty good books. They're going steady. They're solid. I enjoyed myself this week. I didn't have one of those weeks. Have you ever had one of those weeks where you think, my God, how do comics get this good? I had one of those weeks. Yes, I had an absolute blast with my comics this week, and one of them is down to you lot out there from my question of the week video back on Monday. I took a chance, I knew nothing about it, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's kick off this week. Batman Eternal. It's the first issue of this year-long weekly run. And suddenly something occurred to me as I was reading this. I have no idea what this event is about. I got suckered in with the Batman issue, which was like a preview to this Eternal huge year-long event, and just went with it. I was like, fine, I'm gonna buy this, it's gonna be good. And it was. It was. For a first issue, I was pretty stoked with this, and it had everything that I wanted out of my first issue. Not saying it was without fault, but I'm being a little bit pernickety here. Scott Snyder and Tynion, they kick off the story right at the end. Where we have that first page shocker with kind of Batman in the kind of like the Jesus pose. He's got like the Batman signal scarred into his chest, and some voice, some disembodied voice saying, you know, along the lines of kind of, this is the end, I've destroyed you. And it is quite the unsettling first page, and you have obviously Gotham in the background, blazing away in absolute ruins. What a great start to a comic book. Amazing. The kind of way he was set out, it was a little bit Smallville season 1 episode 1, him on the scarecrow perch with the S carved into him, but I kind of let that go. But that's what we get from Scott Snyder. First page, wham, in your face. And then it takes us back to what they call now. Now, when I say now, I'm not quite sure when now is. How does and where does Batman Eternal fit in with all the other Bat titles? I don't know. Obviously, Batman, we're all the way back in year 1. Batman Detective seems to be of the present, but you haven't got all the madness that's going on in here. So that's a kind of little bit of a sticking point. I'm not sure where this is, but what we have is pretty darn good. We have a nice aerial fight with villain Pig. There is train crashes, incriminations, James Gordon arrested. This is obviously the opening salvo of our master villain, who is probably pulling the strings within the shadows in decreasing Batman's ever-growing family, allies, etc. It was literally a blast to read. It was full of excitement, drama, action, and it just pulled me along as a reader from page turn to page turn. Whether Snyder and Tynion can keep this pace up is probably not likely, and we will have our kind of slow kind of phases. You can't keep up this amount of drama and action weekly over a year. But I'm pretty excited for this title. Let's hope things stay as a higher quality as they are now. I know some people are a little bit hesitant that, you know, even before they've even read an issue, that the quality is bound to dip at times. And I understand that. It's the same with any comic book. You can't always be at the top of your game. But as an opening salvo, this is certainly at the top of its game. Straczynski closes off his 4-issue story in the Twilight Zone, issue 4. And it was good, but being a huge fan of the Twilight Zone in general, it didn't really keep in kind of the genre of the way Twilight Zone tells its stories. Your kind of little, your twist, your shock was always at the end of an episode. You'd have the build-up, you'd have the, well, what is going on here? How has such and such happened? And then it would hit you with the twist, with the shock ending, and it didn't even have to wrap it up nicely, but it had you thinking. It had you kind of, making up even your own ending. What happens after that last shot and the credits go up? Unfortunately, Straczynski hasn't done this with the Twilight Zone as a comic book. The twist was told right at the very beginning. And we then followed what we would normally have in our head and make up the story after the show had ended. Straczynski kind of tells us it. And the end of this story, it does just kind of wrap it all up. We have our character who decided he didn't want to be him now and wanted another life to get out of his kind of business fraud. And so someone else took on his life, and he obviously got jealous that this other guy was doing so well. And we have the added subplot of the guy who took over his life only has like 3 years to live because he has an incurable disease. And there is this big kind of climax at the end where, you know, something has to happen, and it happens here. But it's that part of the story you would never really get to see in the TV show. And it never harmed the TV show, so maybe Straczynski could think about that in the next storylines he puts out. What I did find very clever about this is by the end of the issue, only very subtly, and if they keep doing this, I think it could be quite a good premise, but the next story is only subtly, but it is linked to this one. So, I'm a big fan of the Twilight Zone. I'm definitely willing to give the comic book a chance, give it another couple more storylines, see how we go. I just don't think the storyline has to be as many issues as Straczynski has done here. Okay, so I tried out a Marvel issue 1, and that is this one here. Iron Fist, the Living Weapon. Written and drawn by, I can't pronounce this, but I'm going to have a damn good go. Is it Kyle Andrews? And he does a very, very good job. Not only I would think this was pretty exciting for long-term readers, but it definitely delivers for those who are new to this character, who don't know so much about the backstory of Iron Fist, Danny Rand. To me, I'm taking it on face value because I don't know the origins of this character. As I said in my Wednesday's video, he's a character I only know very little about. He may, you know, when he pops up as kind of a guest appearance in another comic or in a big event. I don't know much about his past incarnations, how he came to be the Iron Fist. But this, in some respects, does show kind of his origins and where he began, to the point where, you know, it is him as a child, and he's with his father and mother on this expedition to find this, you know, this temple that is meant to be sacred. Is obviously very difficult to get to, because aren't they all? And we see his father's kind of obsession to the point of madness to get to this place. Interspersed with this kind of history lesson about Danny as a child, we have him in the now, the present, and he's pretty fed up. He is just, it sounds like he's pretty bored with life. He has whatever he wants, despite his father's company having gone to rack and ruin. But life doesn't hold anything for him. And then what comes along? Ninjas falling out from, or I shouldn't say falling out, but descending from helicopters, and they are after Iron Fist. It's an exciting read. The action scenes showing Iron Fist using his powers, however, or his strengths, however you want to call them, is dynamic. It's exciting. And the artwork is pretty stunning, I have to say. Another artist that I've not really heard much about, I've not known of their work before, but I like the art style a lot. Astro City 11, and what did I say on Wednesday? Kurt Busiek excels at the one-issue story arc. The last 4 issues, they've been okay as a whole story, but when he can encapsulate just a story, a day in the life of a character, and have you enthralled from the first page to the last page, you know the man's done good. And this was a fantastic issue. As regular readers of Astro City know, this isn't always necessarily about the superheroes that reside in this city. It's more taken from the people that surround them, whether they're kind of like innocent bystanders, you, me, just the regular Joes, and how they interact with these larger than life superheroes. And our character here is basically a kind of PA, a secretary for the Silver Adept. Again, those who are regular readers of Astro City will see throughout all the volumes of this that the superheroes that Busiek puts in are easily compared to the more regular superheroes that we know from, like, say, Marvel or DC. And the Silver Adept is very much a Doctor Strange type of character, apart from the fact that she's female. She's obviously a magician, a sorcerer, but the girl likes to party. And it's up to this young woman, as her secretary, as her PA, to kind of put her life in order to make sure she's in places where she needs to be. And it's just that beautiful kind of innocent storytelling that Busiek has that enthralls me from the first page to the last page. And although, you know, amazing things happen here, and they are things that normally would only happen to the superheroic community, it's happening to just a normal, regular human being, and they are dealing with it. It's their job, they have to. But he does it in such a delightful and enthralling way. Just this issue alone, I can't recommend it enough. The artwork by Anderson is bright, it's beautiful, it's involving, and this was a damn good issue of Astro City. I'm glad to see it back on my highest rating pile. East of West, issue 11, surprised me this week because the way the story is set up, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of storytelling. The premise of this story is that the heads of all the nations are coming together in this kind of neutral zone to, it's like a summit. They're coming together to discuss the welfare of the country that they reside on. And what Hickman does in pretty much all of this issue is give kind of like a cameo 2 or 3 pages to each of the characters where they're preparing or they're on their journey to this place, this neutral zone. And you get a few kind of surprises along the way, some more intrigue. You've got how do you pronounce her name? Xylian? Basically Death's wife. She's leaving her kind of big temple, but telling her people that, you know, if this all goes wrong, then prepare to go to war. Archibald, the kind of Texan guy, he's talking to something in a box, and the box is, whatever's in the box is talking back. And he's been the kind of very devious character as it is, with his sinister machinations going on, which seem to, you know, still be progressing for him. You've got the prince from that kind of royal family, and the Madam President, she's going to be turning up too. And it's interesting that not only do we go back to all these characters and where they are now, but you also get introduced to a new nation. It's only in one panel, but Archibald is the one character that kind of tells the head of his nation and to us, the reader, that it doesn't matter how much you distrust anyone else in this room, these here, who are called the Endless Nation, they are the worst and the ones you must mistrust the most. It was just a great build-up and a nice, not so much a cliffhanger as such, because they just enter a room, but it certainly adds more excitement, and I'm more intrigued to know who these kind of Endless Nation are. Just another great issue, another issue beautifully drawn by Dragotta. I can't praise this enough. I know I say this all the time, but you people that dropped off on this, more fool you. And we finish off with this beauty, and it's all your fault. I'm blaming you, because this is going on my pull list. A few of you on Monday on my question of the week mentioned this title, and they were looking forward to it, anticipating it. It was a new #1 that was coming out. It's another Image #1, another hit on their hands, I feel. It's Shutter, issue 1, written by Joe Katinge and Leila Del Duca on artwork. And I have to say, it was with a certain trepidation that I picked this book up, because I knew absolutely nothing about it, apart from the fact that you were putting it all in the comments section on the video. And as much as I trust you, this was kind of an unknown quantity. It wasn't like I'd missed the boat and it was a few issues down and you were telling me, pick this up, it's brilliant. None of us have actually read this yet. But I highly recommend you do. This was a fantastic read, and one that I don't normally go back and read comic books so soon after I've read them, but this I had to. Our main character that you can see on the front is Kate Christopher, and the writer kicks off the story with her as a 7-year-old child. Her dad is like this huge explorer, and he takes his child with him on these explorations. However, Kate doesn't seem that interested in following in her father's footsteps. Despite Dad, though he kind of says, well, okay, if you don't want to, he's a little bit pushy about it. Flash forward to 20 years on, and it's Kate's birthday, and she has given up the exploration. She considers she's seen everything now. There's nothing new to explore or see. And the way this story is set up, though we don't really see so much here, is that what does our character do after she's supposedly done everything? And Joe and Layla thrust us into this, although absurd world. It just feels believable. We have Kate on a kind of tram tube, and she sat between a man in a spaceman suit on one side and this kind of bull character on the other, and it's all normal and it feels normal. It's set in obviously a future New York, and it just looks right. Layla's art is fantastic in this. I've never heard of her before, and I asked her what else she's done in the past, because I just absolutely dug her art style. And apparently this is, for Shutter, this is a very different style apparently than what she's done. This artwork is very much just for this title, which is fine by me. If this is the great artwork we're getting, big thumbs up. What else goes on in this issue? We have Kate, it's her birthday, she goes to her father's graveside. He's now died. And you know, it's having a chat on her birthday with him. Then all of a sudden these kind of ghostly purple ninja come out of nowhere, and she's trying to escape. It's all really exciting, it's all really dynamic. I am so intrigued with this world, I'm intrigued with this character, and this is just the first issue. We have not a clue what's going on, why she's being attacked by these ninjas, why the last panel looks so great to me anyway. I'm expecting and anticipating huge things for this title. It's like Image can't put a foot wrong at the moment. They get the best creative teams and just let them go. Let them be imaginative and creative and just wondrous as they possibly can. And you know, pretty much all the time, they don't disappoint or fail to deliver. Pick this one up. And now I need to go and calm down, because that was a very exciting week in comics. Thoroughly loved all my books, and next week will probably be terrible, but I'll have this week. And I've had you for too long now. Thank you all for watching. If you're new to my channel and you like what you saw and you want to see more and you don't want to miss out, there's some exciting stuff coming up in the next 2 weeks, and you are all going to get involved, I promise. And give it a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, put some comments in the section below, do all that good stuff. And just get excited about comics as I am right now, because there's some good stuff out there. Until next week, have a great weekend. Bye bye.